Madam Mayor, it's 6:03 and we are live.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Yes, thank you, everyone. Apologize for that. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 6th, 2024 regular commission meeting of the Lake Worth City Commission. Can I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Betty Resch,
Here.
Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Kim Stokes,
Here.
Commissioner Reynaldo Diaz.
Here. The Vice Mayor McVoy will lead us in the invocation, and the pledge of allegiance will be led by Sarah Malega.
I think all of us are aware of many different things happening in the world. I am particularly more and more concerned about what's happening in Gaza, and I hope that others can share that concern and try to express a hope for some sort of speedy arrival and ceasefire agreement, hopefully a long-term one, and the ability for humanitarian aid to get back into that community. We think of any others in our own community who are suffering in whichever way they might be, and keep your heart open for compassion for them. Hopefully blessings on our own commission, but we always make wise decisions that serve the most in our community in the best possible way as we know how. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any additions, deletions, or reordering?
I don't have anything, Madam Mayor.
Anything from the dais? Okay, then let's approve the agenda as written. Okay.
We don't need a motion. Thank you.
Be careful. Our presentations. This, I'm gonna turn this over to Commissioner Malega. She brought this forward. We have an amazing group of lifesavers and firefighters, and what you do, there's no words to even express the thanks that we have for you. But Commissioner Malega, would you like to take over?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So on February 6th, there was a situation at our beachfront, and there's actually been a couple things that have happened at our beachfront lately. And one of the things that I like to do is make sure that we honor those who put their lives at risk to save others. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. There are fire rescue here in the back that are showing support to our lifeguards who went above and beyond the call of duty on February 6th. So I'm going to read one certificate. It says, certificate of appreciation is presented to, and I'll read all the names off. We have Sam Kaharchuk. We have Captain Xavier DeSalis. We have James Modelsky. Richard Cornell. Philip Aaron. And Trey Good. Awarded this day, February 6, 2024, for your exemplary, outstanding, and commendable service that resulted in saving a life from potential drowning. This quick response to the rescue situation was crucial in life-saving events. Thank you for your commitment and the dedication to the city of Lake Worth Beach. So I'd like to call each of you up here, and we're going to present you with a Hometown Hero Challenge plan.
And were they on duty when this happened?
Yeah, that was amazing. But the police and fire are giving you guys all the credit, which I appreciate. Come on up. Okay. Did I do it right on the name?
Oh, perfect.
Thank you very much. Chase.
Started out.
Sorry?
I know how y'all do it, really. George?
On the time.
No? Oh.
Yep.
Right on the edge.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna look this way.
Me too.
That should be fine. Are we all getting in here? Thank you. Come on, thank you. The other way. Ready, Chief?
Yes, ma'am. You're very fortunate. All right. Be smart. Thank you. Next up, we have a proclamation declaring February 11th to the 17th as 211 Awareness Week. Whereas tens of thousands of people reach out to 211 helpline each year. And whereas during these challenging times that seem increasingly uncertain, 211's highly trained and accredited staff continue to be frontline responders available 24/7. And whereas 211 is that central access number where individuals and families, people of all ages and walks of life can find life-saving crisis support, guidance, and hope. And whereas people have expressed growing struggles with mental and emotional health, addiction, and the ability to meet their basic needs of housing, utility payments, food, and other concerns, 211's caring staff listen to each and every person to provide available resource options and to help them strategize and problem solve. And whereas 211 also has specialized advocacy and support programs for the community that include caregiver support, Help Me Grow, elder crisis outreach, and 211's life-saving Sunshine Daily calls for lonely and isolated seniors and caregivers. And whereas 211 is also the infrastructure and responder for the 988 Lifeline number and additional support lines that include first responders and MYFL, My Florida Vet, for veterans with peer-to-peer support and assistance for those specialized groups and their families. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim February 11th to the 17th, 2024 as 211 Awareness Week in the City of Lake Worth Beach. And I urge all citizens to be aware that if they are overwhelmed in crisis or just need to talk, 211 is available anytime, day or night. 211 staff can also provide referrals for mental health counseling, substance abuse, healthcare, employment, food assistance, daycare, support groups, volunteering, VITA-free income tax preparation, and so much more. And with this, I have set my hand and caused the seal of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, to be affixed the 6th day of February, 2024. Thank you so much. And we have a representative tonight from 211. Thank you all. This is great. Thank you. If you'd like to say a few words, we'd love it.
No,
There we go.
I see you have a full agenda, so I will not give you the 2-hour series on 211. just like the caring gentleman that you just congratulated, which I was so happy to hear that. Right around the corner from here, we have a corrugated battered building where we have always about 22 people on staff answering the phone, 24 hours a day. We answered over 24,000 calls last year from people needing help. So roughly 350 per day. Mental health was huge. We had over 42,700 people with mental health or substance use concerns. And of that, we had 4,583 that were suicidal. So we do answer the 98 number, so there's no wrong way to reach out. We've been a crisis line in this community since 1971 as a substance abuse hotline. So we continue, we're way over 50 years now, and we are very grateful for being able to serve this community. And I also wanted to mention, of course, one of the drivers for the mental health calls is the housing crisis.
Right.
We're getting well over 100 calls per day for people looking for affordable housing. So I don't want to discount that. And that takes the whole community coming together to resolve that. But again, I wanted to thank you, and I appreciate the support, and we want to continue on with this mission. And people are, if they're looking for the different services, they can go to 211palmbeach.org to also do self-search, or simply call any time of day or night. We have somebody waiting there to answer that call. And then we also have text messaging, text to 898-211. So there are some brochures in the pocket back there I saw, and I want to thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, let me just ask you one question. The folks that answer the phones, those are volunteers, correct?
No.
Not.
No, that we have to make benchmarks because, you know, I'll use this analogy. If the surf is a beautiful surf day, that volunteer is going to be out surfing. So
Right.
we found that to make sure that we had the coverage we need and the training that we have to give these individuals. It's over 100 hours of training, Rogerian techniques. So it's active listening. Any member of that staff is trained to be able to answer and listen to anybody and help them with their issues. So we also have to make the data entries that are needed for our funders. So we have, American Association of Suicidology, the 988 Lifeline. We have to be accredited through their line. We also answer Palm Beach County's Victim Services line. So we handle that line and are helping, whether it's law enforcement or a victim on the street. We also help arrange lifts for those victims that need to be removed out of a situation. So the Victim Services will reach out to us and will help get that person transportation. So there are a lot of the behind the scenes things that we're doing. So our staff have to be on top of it, over 100 hours training with buddy shifts and role plays and classroom work and shadowing somebody on the line. They have to be able to handle an information and referral call, or gee, I've lost my job. I don't have food for my children. Where do I go? Or my business is going under. My wife's divorcing me. I can't take it anymore. I want to end it. So the staff are trained to answer all those calls.
Mr. Report?
You mentioned that you help arrange transportation in some situations. In situations of domestic violence, can you be somebody, can you 211 folks, or can you get people in a timely fashion if somebody needs to get out or get out with their children?
This is an arrangement that the Victim Services will reach out to us with the stipulations and the parameters. So we are, we're kind of the helper to them.
Right.
So we're not,
So
that's not a go-to number for
Yeah.
somebody that needs a ride out of a situation. They are, clients are being helped by Victim Services.
Right.
So I don't want to give anybody
Yeah, I just wanted to, that's kind of what I thought, but it's important to know.
And, because we do have first responders in the room also, we do have our newest support line is our Hero for Hero line in conjunction with the 211s in the southernmost part of this county. So we're talking 911 dispatch, firefighters, law enforcement, corrections officers, EMTs, whether they're active duty or whether they're retired, they can give us a call. I won't give the long number, I do have it here, but they can call 211 also. But we're there to do peer-to-peer. So we do have first responders on our staff that will help them get connected to those specific resources for first responders and their families. And that's similar with our My Florida Vet program too. Again, we have veterans on staff that will do that peer-to-peer, which is so important. and then help link the veteran and their families with the critical services that they need. Well, those are just a couple of
I
things.
know
we
you
do,
guys.
So I encourage
Thank you so
people to
much.
grab a brochure on the way out, and if you know somebody in need, just mention to them that 211 might be able to help.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have a presentation on the Lake Worth Neighborhood Planning Initiative. By Nielsen Zacharias and Chen Moore and Associates.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I'm Nielsen Zacharias, Director of Planning for Chen Moore and Associates.
You have to point it over here.
Over here. I'm super excited and happy to be here presenting this program, the neighborhood plans. And this is why. We started this in 2018, when we, were preparing this document, the comprehensive plan. This is the, that was adopted by the, City Commission in 2018. This document was prepared, working together with each department of the city. And then, we included one element there. Well, the comp plan has already housing as an element, per Florida statutes. However, we included housing and neighborhood. We added an element with, a component. Then in 2019, we initiated these neighborhood plans. And then we all know COVID happened. We had prepared, we arrived, and I will go more into details what did we do until 2019. Part of the presentation is to provide detailed information with regard to that, where we are in this process. The whole idea of preparing the neighborhood plan is to empower each neighborhood to help themselves to create a sense of place by promoting awareness, training, and organization. In general, the goals of this program is to build mutual collaboration between neighborhood residents, business community, and the city. To create a sense of place, foster safer neighborhoods, encourage community pride, and build a vibrant and diverse economy. Like I mentioned before, we started the program, and we put together for each neighborhood, we had a draft report. This for Carroll Cole and each of the 18 neighborhoods. Another goal is to position Lake Worth Beach to be competitive, viable location of choice to bring economic development by strengthening our city as a community of neighborhoods. During the process to put together this comprehensive plan back in 2017, 2018, that was a very strong idea to embrace the city of Lake Worth as a Lake Worth Beach as a city of neighborhoods. The current comprehensive plan that is part of the city has specific goals, objective policies that focus on the neighborhood plans. And I will not read one by one, I only will read the goal 3.3. Develop and implement strategies that reinforce Lake Worth. At the time was Lake Worth Beach as a community of neighborhoods, and promote neighborhood preservation, revitalization, and stabilization to enhance the quality of life through its neighborhoods. This plan, the comprehensive plan include, we went to each of the neighborhood and include a preliminary existing conditions. So if you open this comprehensive plan, you will find a number of sheets that will summarize where is this neighborhood located, provide some basic information, and also some photos. We have done that already. That is already part of your comprehensive plan. At the time also, we look at it, the organizations that are part already of the city, such as the Neighborhood Association President's Council. There are specific provisions to be part of this association. So there is a detailed list of what are the requirements to be part of this association. The neighborhood plan, the process was neighborhood identification, meeting with city departments and other entities. We have done that part on 2019, and we learned the different programs, for example, Public Works, if they were fixing some roads specific in each neighborhood. So the plan for that specific neighborhood will already include, this is what we are doing right now to improve your neighborhood. So we met, for example, with Parks and Rec, Public Works, each department to analyze what are they already doing and accomplishing in each neighborhood. And that was 2019, been a while. So then determine the existing conditions. Again, the document includes what's the population, the demographics of each of the neighborhoods. And then neighborhood assessment, summarize each neighborhood condition and determine the main issues, challenges, and neighborhood meetings. The last part of this was to meet with the neighborhood, and that's 2020 happens, COVID happened. We were at the end of 2019 and we were thinking to start meeting with the neighborhood in February, March of 2020. So we have not completed this plan that started a while ago. Once we meet with the neighbor, then each neighborhood, we need to draft an action plan, a blueprint for neighborhood improvement to be discussed with each neighborhood and its representatives. So basically, we are now at a step that we need to listen each of the neighborhoods. And then obviously final plan action and presentation to the city commission for adoption. The document also includes this organizational chart that shows many of the different existing agencies that are already working on each neighborhood, such as PBSO. In fact, back in 2019, we attended a number of meetings where representatives of the PBSO were attending. So because safety, through this, we all know safety is critical for each neighborhood. In order for residents and business owners to thrive, they need to be safe. They need to feel safe. So safety, one of the key elements. Well, this is what we accomplished up to now, meeting with each department and then conducted a existing condition analysis. We look at the demographics, what kind of park, kind of open space in each neighborhood, and we generated a template for action plan. So this is the template, and then we prepared for each of the neighborhoods already a draft plan. So the table of contents is obviously to create a key neighborhood plans that will focus on safety, infrastructure, parks and open space, traffic, signage, beautification, code compliance events. We also, back in 2019, when we were meeting with each department, we met with code compliance to fully understand what were the main issues or concerns of each of these neighborhoods. And this is an example of the draft report, in this case, Bryant Park. They all have like an introduction, the existing conditions, where it's located, obviously photos, the demographics of each neighborhood, and So basically, where are we? We need to meet with each neighborhood, and we also need to update the report. Because at the time in 2019, Public Works was doing, major improvement, they had a drainage master plan and all of that. So at this time, we truly need to, update this. And then, update the report and come back to the, city commission with, updated information.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Malega.
I heard you say demographics of each neighborhood, so obviously this was done before the census. You'll be updating all that data off of the census and the new
Yes.
information that's available.
Yes, definitely, because that's a great question, because can you imagine the challenge in 2019 without the census? So we put our hat on the American Community Survey, ACS, that they do every 5 years, but now that we have the census, the 2020 census, this is a great time to do this.
Okay, I'm the NAPC liaison from the commission. And the NAPC, which is the Neighborhood Association President's Council, they meet the first Saturday of every month. And they do have a guest presenter come. I think that would be a great opportunity for you to meet all the presidents, and then they could schedule you to meet, I'm saying, assuming you get support from the board.
Yeah.
Then you could meet with each individual neighborhood.
Thank
But I
you.
can get your contact information from William and make sure you're connected with them.
Please, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz.
I was, but I think Mr. Brown has to respond to that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just, gonna mention, as well as part of this, more than just the NAPC, we obviously have Guatemala Lion Center and some other, organizations within the city. So I know the presentation kind of focused on, like the neighborhood plans, but we're also reaching out to the different organizations within these neighborhoods as well, so. I want to mention that.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Brooks.
I was basically gonna repeat that because I think it's important that, we understand the organization of the neighborhoods is helpful just for presentation purposes, but that going out and meeting in the neighborhoods, I think that's a great idea of scheduling, presenting to NAPC and scheduling that out, but the reach definitely has to go beyond that because we have such a large population in our community that quite likely just don't participate in our neighborhood associations for whatever reason, so their voice definitely needs to be heard, and looking forward to helping with them.
Por supuesto, vamos a reunirnos con
Ya.
cada uno y vamos a escuchar, vamos a escribir sus comentarios.
This is your voice.
Seems to be an echo in here. Sí, gracias por la respuesta. That would be my concern. Obviously, a focus on neighborhoods probably makes a certain amount of organic sense to do. And working with the existing neighborhood associations is a logical step. But I think what you're hearing from others here is that they do not necessarily very effectively represent the full nature of the community. And you may have a number of neighborhoods where people just are not very comfortable dealing with government agencies, dealing with planning. They're not aware of the planning office. So I would definitely encourage you to, work with all of us or anyone else. Certainly what City Manager Brown mentioned, obviously the Guatemala Maya Center would be a logical partner for what you're doing. I don't know of an equivalent center in the Haitian community, and there's really some more spread out, but the Haitian churches might be a good way to reach into that community. Similarly, some of the Latin churches might also be helpful. Some of the churches in the Wingfield area. So I would encourage you strongly to use a number of different ways. I don't say that it's easy. One of our challenges that we certainly feel here with the city commissioners, even just pushing information out, it's not always easy to get it to as many people as you'd like to. Thank you.
Mr.
We're all thinking the same thing, but I think this could be an incredible opportunity to help us, because this is, we don't have a lot of extra staff time dedicated to being able to make those connections and create those partnerships. I think when Jess Savage was here, she had a list of a lot of those when she was very active in trying to work with organizations for collecting census data. There's like a Helping Hands for Haiti organization. There are, and I agree 100% with churches and other nonprofits. But I think at the end of this initiative, if it brought more people together, that alone is like a huge win and helped us. I think one of the things said that to help us figure out how do we communicate? How do we push out information to everybody about what's going on? So I think if this helps us broaden our reach, then I think it's gonna be pretty successful.
Thank you. I have a bit of a different look at this, a different approach to this. I don't know, we haven't been given any information about how much we've spent so far on this study and what the anticipated cost would be. It's never small. And we're engaged in so many different studies and sorts of things. And I just don't know, and I'm being a little skeptical. You know, the result, I just don't know what the result will be, except a lovely pamphlet that can either be used or put on the side. If it's not something that your group would not stay involved and help us implement these things, you would just say, here's your different neighborhoods, here's what they look like, here's what the problems are, here's some possible solutions. Am I correct?
The goal is exactly to present solutions, how to reach out to this community. First of all, identify their concerns, their problems, and then propose solutions, and then also to help them to know how to reach out the city, depends on what are their needs. All of that is the communication strategy, that has to go both ways.
Well, I see us almost. I certainly get enough telephone calls and texts and voicemails and emails. I'm pretty well aware of what the people in my communities, all the different communities their problems are. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, but I think we're pretty well aware of, where the issues are. What are we talking about cost-wise? How much are we talking about?
This was a presentation to see if a commission was interested on this program. I do not have any specific number.
I don't know.
If it's appropriate, I can address part of that to William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. We have a standing planning consultancy contract with Nilsa and Chenmore. We're in the last year of it. We have to go out for another RFP, I think, after this year. And the goal was to have it finished within that 5-year period of the first contract. We had budgeted about $60,000 a year to do outside planning services that not only included neighborhood planning. Nilsa provided historic preservation backup planning for us when we were low on staff. She provided expertise on comp plan items. And our goal, we were not going to be able to do this all in 1 year. We've spent probably about maybe close to $40,000 across 2.5 years getting the initial needs and analysis done, the templates. And what is different about this plan is not an open-ended planning effort. We put together what the city has to offer neighborhoods, and we were going to discuss with them and request that they prioritize from that list what they would like to see. And it would be maybe a funding mechanism where the city could help them apply for grant opportunities, or if the city had capital improvement programs that were established, which projects would be the priority in which neighborhoods. It was a variety of things, but it was not going to be an open-ended, just all things soup to nuts. That's why the templates are all exactly the same. They will change based on the demographic and needs analysis data for each neighborhood. But where the action plan will differ is that here's your options 1 through 12. Of those 12, which ones are your 3 priorities? And then we can start putting numbers by those, what those might cost. I would anticipate that we probably can get this done in 2 more years, but where we have an opportunity of economy of scale is that Chenmore's already gotten the consultancy to do our open space recreation master plan, which pulls in a great deal of the information that we'll need for these. So we're going to be double dipping if you're open to it. Double dipping.
I'm feeling overloaded by studies at this point. We've got the study on open spaces, we've got the study on housing, mobility. We've got a lot of studies going on now. We're spending a lot of money on them, and I just treat with, well, it's the open spaces. I just feel like it's comfortable to have reports. But I just don't know in terms of practicality, what we're gonna end up with. And
We do need some reports like this that become part of our comprehensive plan to be as competitive as possible to get dollars from the outside. Either it's grant dollars, state dollars, federal dollars, even ones from nonprofits and other community foundations. Without the planning piece done, we miss a lot of the ranking points that are necessary even to be able to apply for money. And so that's why we saw it as a way to bring it back now, is that because we're already doing some planning efforts, we could try to accomplish more than one thing with the same entity and the same dollar.
have they been paid during the COVID, or is it an ongoing, when they get paid for the work, like they bill out for the work that they do?
Yes, that's how it worked.
And
We
the
spent
max-
almost nothing last year or the year before or the year before.
And the maximum is 60,000 a
We
year.
budgeted 60,000. We'll see how that goes. We'll, during the budget discussions for FY 25, we'll talk to you about that and we can maybe have a better estimate of how long it might take. We're a little understaffed, so part of that $60,000 budget may go to supplement our planning and zoning staff. Since there were now, as of today, there's only 2 vacancies, there were 4. But we don't have any significantly large project where we would need Bill's help. So it is a pay-as-you-go kind of thing, based on the hourly rate of her contract.
Okay, thank you. Someone over here had their lights on first.
Thank you. William, you kind of answered what I was gonna say, which is why do we need this? And it's to pursue funding. Because, you know I get the study fatigue and, the questions regarding all of our studies, but, the reality is we have to throw down some dollars to pursue even bigger dollars, and we can't show up with like a napkin drawing, and you're absolutely right. I think all of us up here have a really good, like, kind of pulse on our community on what the needs are and what the issues are, but it does really need to be like memorialized in an actual paper so that we can pursue these funding opportunities. And I would be supportive, like I said, I think what, in regards to like the effort of connecting with our Haitian and our Central American communities especially. I think that's so critical because what we're seeing, especially out of DC, is, and even to some degree Tallahassee, is, when it comes to funding for some of these projects, it's now become a pretty standard requirement. What are you doing for our minority communities and whatnot? And we really need to kind of just get that down on paper. And then on top of that, and, William, correct me if I'm wrong, but another thing, on top of everything you listed of what could come out of this, the other thing is, we're operating on a comp plan from 2018, which is the driver of our development and our growth management. And a lot of things have happened since 2018. I think the world has a different perspective on people's livelihoods since then. And this would help us improve that comp plan, and, whether that time is now or coming up real soon. I think it's coming up real soon to take a look at our comp plan and seeing if we're achieving the goals that we are really setting ourselves to do, like affordable housing, workforce housing, protecting our green areas, those things like that. So this would be another tool, like our mobility plan, like the open area study, to move us towards a better more protective comp plan.
Is it a comp plan revision in the future?
No, we have all of these elements that are being moved along. And this is going to give a presentation on them to supplement and enhance our current comprehensive plan. We have brought things forward as needed. To do a wholesale analysis of the comprehensive plan is more than $250,000.
Right.
And we've got a gap because of COVID where we weren't really able to implement components of it. So we put off doing a full evaluation and an appraisal analysis until the next round, which will probably be in like 5 years. But 5 years comes really quick.
Right.
And so we want to put some of the other pieces together that were recommended as part of the comprehensive plan. We have adopted a lot of things, and they really haven't had that much time to mature or take traction, like the affordable housing program. But, just on the books and the people of interest, there's over 1,000 units being batted around within the city, of which more than likely half or more will be affordable workforce. But they're not going to be opening their doors for 3 or 4 years. It just takes time, and we're not always as patient as we'd like to be. As an example, my contract was 2 years initially, and now it's 13. So things move a little slower than we would like to see
As
them
long as
move.
then you're having fun though.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Mr. Oakley.
Well, I just want to acknowledge that we did have Jess, who I think, I can't remember what the title was, like strategic planning or something, and she was able to
Special
help
projects.
spread special projects, and she was able to maybe help take on certain things. When she left, we did not replace her with anybody. I think that we have gaps on staff, and we lack the people there with the expertise or time to be able to help us with things like mobility planning. So I think when we call everything a study, it gives the public this weird, like, why are you spending all this money on these studies? But if we said, oh, we're gonna pay somebody on staff to do the planning, to get the research and put it all together, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We just don't have that. So I feel like we do need to fill the gaps, and help move forward on things like mobility and these different initiatives.
Yeah, fair point. I would look to, when we acquire new, I think we need to look a little bit at the role of the public information officer and what their role is and how they do, because I see that person as kind of a link to something like this. Mr. LaVoy?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I appreciate your concern, and it's one that you've expressed before about some of the other studies that, gosh, we're spending a lot of money on studies, and do studies sit on the shelf, or do they really do us any good? And those are not unreasonable questions to ask, I don't think. I think Commissioner Stokes' point that sometimes we're doing some things with outside folks because we don't have, at this particular point, the staff, either just the numbers of people available to do it, or in some cases, we don't have the same expertise, or when you go outside, one of the things that you get, I think, is you get somebody who has worked with multiple communities, which somebody on staff here has not necessarily have that broader perspective. So another way to think about, you know, a concern about, are there too many studies, are we spending too much money, is to think about each of the areas and say, do we think that in this community, people who especially pay most attention to whatever the topic is, trees, people pay the most attention to trees and think about, do we think we're in optimal situation with trees? People who pay a lot of attention to mobility and different forms of mobility, are we in an optimal situation with that? Housing, affordable housing, are we in an optimal situation for that? We just heard from the 211 presentation that a big chunk of their calls was housing prices. So I think if you look through these different areas, I think many people who are familiar with the city would say pretty much all these areas where they were putting studies in, we have definite room for improvement. So it makes some sense to do the steps that get you to figure out, well, how bad is the problem? What is the problem? What are possible solutions? And then hopefully some of that does either lead to informing our budget decisions internally or increasing our application for funding externally. And there it's pretty much a known necessary step. So I hear the concern, but I think it might be useful to step back and look, are these areas all areas that everything's hunky-dory and we don't need to do anything on them? If that was the case.
I don't think that, I'm not gonna argue, I don't think
Yeah.
that's the,
I don't think any of us think
well,
that.
no, I don't think that that's really the answer, the question to be answered, but, that's fine. Thank you. Ms. Malega?
My only concern is, you know, I love that you're gonna go out and ask the community what they want, but I've sat up here and seen a room packed with people from my district asking for something, and this board just blatantly disrespected and disregarded. So I'm hoping that the study, when we listen and we actually hear what the people want, that we carry through with it this time. Because it's quite frustrating for the residents to say what they want and to then not get what they want, or not even be heard. So as somebody who's frustrated with the studies as you are, Mayor, I mean, I love the fact that it'll help us get the money, because there's always, if that's where we're gonna go down, yes, let's get as much money as we can for the community. But again, from CDBG money being spent to the cemetery, this district, this commission has not listened to the community when the community has spoken. So if we're asking the community for their opinion, we need to listen and take action according to what the community wants, not what we want or our personal opinions.
Thank you. So, it sounds like there's consensus to go forward with this. I'm the skeptic on the board, sorry, but I am. And I, you know, I want somebody to call me one day and they'll be way past the time that any of us are on this side and say, we got money for the study that we did in 2022. It paid off because I am a little skeptical, but that's fine. So, let's hope so. Let's hope it's a good investment. So are you looking for direction to, go forward?
Not necessarily. We are moving along and, your consensus of support to sort of, fold this into the other things that we're already doing and trying to do more with less. We would appreciate. I will try to work with Nielsen and get together sort of like a schedule. And when we might, do an APC meeting and some other things, there are some public outreach coming up, the street painting festival. We've got a plan for a couple other things where we'd like to go ahead and solicit some information that might support various aspects of this. But we are gonna have to move a little bit slower because we only have so much staff to support the outside people doing work for us. So it may take a little longer than what you would anticipate, but we will get there.
Will you be able to, provide us with, do we look and give input on the other outreach that you're doing? So Street Painting Festival is great. We get a lot of visitors, and APC, there are like the easy places to go to get input and then like the harder to reach ones like we talked about earlier. So the only way I can be on board with this study is if we are making a real effort to go out and find the people who don't know where City Hall is, because they have things that they want to, they just don't know. Or, you know, aren't familiar with that level of participation.
There's a combination of stakeholders, we call them, between or among the open space recreation master plan, Nielsen's previous work like with the comp plan, the neighborhood plan, the mobility plan, that we're getting a much broader, stronger list of outreach locations than we had before. And definitely Jess's previous work with the census will be helpful. And then, you know, we'll look at all that and we can give you a list of what we're doing and you can give us feedback on it. It can be done through the city manager fairly easily.
Yes, I would just echo that it would be helpful as before you go out the next steps. Maybe just start with William right now. Here's what we're thinking of and send it to the city manager. And maybe there's an opportunity for us to give some feedback. Yeah, that gives us more confidence that we're really reaching solidly into the community. Or maybe some other suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you very much. And next up, we have a proposed carbon neutrality comprehensive plan element by Nielsen Zacharias of Genmore Associates. Hi.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Thank you again. Thank you so much for having me here. Again, this is something that Mr. William Waters and has been years into the making, so I'm excited to be here. Okay.
He's getting like a. I think it'll work now. Yeah.
I'm truly happy to report that the city of Lake Worth Beach is among the municipalities leading the efforts in sustainability. You even have a department that is called sustainability. It's not just some theoretical, you know, on the book somewhere hidden on a shelf. One of your departments has this title, and it's truly, I mean, we provide services to a number of municipalities, and more than one of those local governments have go to your website, read about it. How do they do it? How is the incentive? How is, you know, so definitely this municipality is leading the effort. And again, we started in 2019 with this document, the comprehensive plan. When we did a full update, that was actually to produce this document, it took us 2 years, from 2016 until it was adopted in 2018. And the goal was, we had specific objectives and policies to reduce greenhouse emissions, and improve energy conservation, implement strategies to reduce electrical usage, Those are all already policies and objectives in your comprehensive plan. The purpose of this initiative, is to add to this document a carbon neutral element to this comprehensive plan. Right now, there is not a specific chapter or element in your current comp plan that deals with this subject matter. So once we create that element, then there will be policies focusing on carbon neutral goals and strategies. There will be, again, to facilitate, as you know, the federal government has a number of grants that focus on sustainability, carbon neutral. So the fact to include that element into your comprehensive plan will facilitate that grant process. Research methodology for measuring and monitoring carbon emissions, support energy development, infrastructure conservation, and other climate-friendly policies. Provide information that help residents and business to reduce carbon emissions and be more energy efficient. And also the city electrical utility department will be involved in the preparation of this new element. I am not aware any municipality in the state of Florida that has that type of elements into their comprehensive plan. And again, this municipality is a cutting edge and a lead effort into this. In your package, we prepare actually a write-up, and these slides, it's just a summary of that write-up. So we wanted to define what is carbon neutrality, and also what is the difference between carbon neutrality and net zero. So they are used exchange, people use one word, one or the other. But carbon neutral means that any CO2 released into the atmosphere from companies or government activities is balanced by an equivalent amount being removed. And then again, those terminology are exchanged sometimes between net zero and carbon neutrality. Basically, both have the overall goal to reduce or eliminate carbon emissions and greenhouse gases. In the write-up that is part of the package, there is just some few notes with regard to the Paris Agreement that was signed in 2015, and a number of countries signed this agreement, actually 196 countries. Keep global warming to no more than 1.5 centigrade by 2030. Emissions might be reduced by 45%. Net zero must be reached by the year 2050. No, we are moving ahead. As you all know, there are a number of federal and local initiatives aiming to this. In 2021, the federal government signed an executive order to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2050. And also across the US, a number of cities are including policies into their comprehensive plan with regard to carbon neutrality, such as Boulder, Colorado, Minneapolis, New York City, San Francisco. This is just a summary of what are those cities doing actually, because as everything else, it starts with policy, to have the commitment from the government to implement these policies, these strategies. Boulder, Colorado has done a climate action plan and comprehensive plan with a specific policy. Minneapolis, climate equity plan and comprehensive plan. In New York City, they have the pathway to carbon neutral. Also, there are a number of global initiatives, including countries, cities, businesses, and institutions that are pledging to obtain net zero emissions. So this is just a summary of how many countries, 140, more than 9,000 companies, over 1,000 cities, and more than 1,000 educational institutions, and also financial institutions. Private companies, we all know they need to also pledge and commit to this. For example, there are the food corporations, against the oil and automobile companies, and also energy companies. Private companies, this is just a small portion of some of those companies, and are the food corporations, like Tyson, oil and automobile companies, and energy companies. Next era energy, and also other consulting companies such as Schneider Electric. And this is before we start talking about net zero and carbon neutral, it's interesting to understand what are the scopes and then what are carbon offsets. They are two
I think we just saw something in the news about those carbon offsets and
Yeah.
celebrities using their private jets and then paying for things that don't really.
Yes,
actually
I
help.
wanted to go over the concept of those.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
We're gonna need our little IT guy back.
Oh, yes, they are related, both of them, the carbon offsets and the scopes, they are related. And and the main thing of this proposal is to have the opportunity to include that element into your comprehensive plan, which is not there now. And then also.
It has to go through the same process to get it
Oh, okay.
shared and then talking to itself and then moving so you can advance it.
I strongly believe that Lakewood Beach has in a very strategic situation because you have an electrical company. Not every municipality has that opportunity. So there is a lot that you can accomplish in this arena. So let's go back there.
You can advance now, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, as we spoke, scopes and offsetting are similar. Companies use the greenhouse gas protocol to categorize and calculate emissions that are emitted. And there are three categories, 1, 2, and 3. No, so it depends on the type of emission, it will be scope 1, 2, or 3. And for example, scope 1 are emissions that are direct emissions from operations that are owned or controlled by the company. And the scope 2 is a different category. And the scope 3 are emissions that do not belong to any of those categories. And then what is interesting, I was actually really very interested on this, and is the carbon offsets. And many companies are using this now. Companies purchase carbon credits, also known as carbon offset. For every 1 ton of carbon produced, a business will need to purchase 1 verified carbon credit to offset the carbon emissions. So of course, they are looking into being very specific with the certification. How do you know really how much are you offsetting? You know, what is the measure? So there are typically certified by third parties and go through a rigorous process to verify that is real. Also, there are global organizations like a C40 Cities, Climate Impact Partners, Carbon Neutral Cities Alliance that are very much focused on these efforts. If we are here looking for direction from the commission, so this is the presentation and listening for direction from this committee, then if it is a positive outcome, then we will prepare the carbon neutral element and then we'll bring it back in front of the council. Mr. Report.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's surprised that my light went on.
William was gonna add something too, though.
What's that?
I think William wants to add.
There's a little step missing. We would, if it's the pleasure of the commission, we will put together a formal proposal. We don't have the money in our budget, but, and also the carbon neutrality element would go across more than just the electric utility. We'll look at the water, sewer utility, stormwater, some other things. And so we will come back with you with an estimate of what it may cost to put something together like this and present it to you for consideration as part of the FY25 budget, which is right around the corner. And so, but if you're not interested, I'm not going to have Nielsen take the time to put together a formal, proposal to put together what all it will entail and what the anticipated cost might be.
Yeah, I think we're definitely interested, as I suspect, but obviously I'm just one vote on it, but
One aspect too, I noticed that the electric utility is really jumping forward on a lot of things, and the $24 million I got from the state. But a lot of their plans and their goals are not actually incorporated in the comp plan itself, which will provide further support of their efforts to get outside funding, as an example. And so, and then I want to be the first in Florida to have one for our city, so.
I think it's a great idea, to go for that. A couple of comments. One, a very central view that I've had about being involved in city government for many years is our best thing that we can do as a city is to focus on our competitive advantage, whatever those are compared to other cities. Don't try to imitate a city that we're not likely to be able to imitate. Do things that we do differently and better. And the fact that we are leading on a number of things is certainly that in that direction, which I fully support. Couple of thoughts. We are almost certainly within the city itself unlikely to do anything that's actually an uptake of carbon at any significant scale. So we're not going to bury carbon here. We're not going to grow huge forests that suck up things. There also is a lot of concern in the community of folks that work on this stuff that offsets and carbon credits and that sort of thing aren't working anywhere near as well as people would like to believe. So the people that, and then there are other efforts that are going on that say, well, how about carbon uptake? We'll build a power plant and we'll suck the CO2 out of the smokestack and we'll try to capture it. People who think about this seriously and deeply say, don't do that. The most important thing, because you can't do it at any reasonable scale. And there's no way to do it economically or even energy economically. The best thing to focus on is simply source reduction. Reduce your, and it was interesting that NextEra, their comment was not net zero or carbon neutrality, it was reduce our carbon emissions to zero, which is a much stronger and more sensible goal. I'm glad you mentioned the electric utility. We, at some point soon, we'll get this out, but working with the utility, got them to look at it in terms of megawatt hours, which my fellow colleagues, they don't ever want to hear about megawatt hours again, but it's the right way to do the accounting. And we are on target, as you may know, we passed a resolution last March-ish that we wanted to get to, I think, 60% reduction by 2035 and net zero, well, I think we called it net zero by 2045, I believe. We pushed it a little harder than the 2050. We are on target with our utility scale solar fields, plus our about a third of our juice coming from nuke plant. If you count that as a non-carbon emission, which you can argue about, but it's not totally unreasonable, we would be by 2026 at 66% reduction, which is pretty darn good. As we anticipate adding more battery storage, as the costs get better, we probably can pull that down a little bit more. To get it from the 66% down to zero is going to be much harder to go to the next stages, and probably something more expensive. I would like to see us focus a lot on the non-electric. I think we're on a roll with the electric utility, although the idea of building support for it into our comp plan makes a lot of sense to me, both for grant and keep that energy up. But I'd like to see us looking carefully at our emissions from mobility from buildings. Those are the two big ones that I think are wrong. And since we're working on a mobility study, that is one area that there's some potential overlap as ways to reduce. And then I don't know, I didn't ask really, but is your focus just on the city government's emissions, or is your focus on the city as a whole, helping all of us try to reduce it?
We noticed the 3 scopes and some other areas in her presentation. We're looking at the entire city.
Okay, good.
There was a study done by Aaron Beatty, 14 years ago that talked about, carbon reduction and greenhouse gas emissions, and we can take part of that and update it because exponentially things have gotten better. I mean, who thought, in 2009 and 10 that we would even be considering net zero or even carbon positivity in a sense. And now that's actually well within our vision range. And so we'll be looking at the whole city.
Great, that's excellent. And yes, let's do build on the previous work, obviously. There was also some that maybe gleaned out of the Siemens performance contract. Had some information where there was something related to that. So, I can't, as a scientist who follows this stuff, the scariness of what is happening worldwide in that we're not getting, we've made significant progress, but we're certainly not on track to meet the Paris Agreement. The need for doing it is huge. And if we can do some, I think that helps the bigger picture and helps us as a city.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I guess you got consensus to go forward. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Next up, thank you very much. Good to see you. Next is a proclamation declaring February 2024 as Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month is an annual observance where it is also known as African American History Month. It has received official recognition from governments of the United States and Canada, and more recently has been observed in Ireland and the United Kingdom. And whereas the celebration of Black History Month was created in 1926 by Carter G. Woodson, a noted African American historian, scholar, educator, and publisher. It became a month-long celebration in 1976. And whereas the 2024 national theme for the observance is African Americans and the Arts, by which artists have used art to preserve history and community memory, as well as for empowerment. African American art is infused with African, Caribbean, and the Black American lived experience. And whereas celebrating the history of African Americans in the arts puts into the national spotlight the richness of the past and present with an eye towards what the rest of the 21st century will bring. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach celebrates arts contributions to our community, state, the country, and the world, and continues to work towards becoming an inclusive community in which all citizens, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contributions. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach is proud to be the African American arts contributions in our community throughout our state and nation. Now I, therefore, Betty Resch, Mayor of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month in the city of Lake Worth Beach, in accordance with the nationwide observance of the same, and urge all citizens to celebrate our diverse heritage, arts, and culture, and continue our efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Thank you very much. Now, the next proclamation is tied to it, but also broader. It's interesting. This is a proclamation, positive action towards liberty and justice for all. Whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach is a rich ethnic and racial community that prides itself on its diverse population. And whereas the founding charter of the city and supporting statutes through the 1960s provided for legal discrimination uniquely between white and colored residents. And whereas the city now wishes to move forward by providing equal protection under the law in harmony with the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And whereas there is an ongoing need to overcome legacy of racial discrimination by positive action to educate its citizens and provide equal opportunities for all. And whereas the Lake Worth Beach Martin Luther King Committee, the Lake Worth Interfaith Network, the Historical Society of Lake Worth, and numerous other community organizations have come together to organize 29 days of anti-racism campaign during February 2024 to educate the public about the local history of Black anti-racism and the remedial measures that have been taken to overcome historic discrimination. And whereas the 29-day campaign includes discussion forums, site visits, historical presentations, church visits, support for minority-owned businesses, and other events aimed at education and fellowship across racial lines. And whereas details and information about the emerging events can be found online at facebook.com LWIN 29 days, and also on the internet at www.lake lwinterfaith.net. And whereas, thank you, and whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach supports these positive steps by providing publicity, venues, and logistical support. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach aims to continue to build what Dr. Martin Luther King called the beloved community, where its residents live may live in a spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood. Now therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Anti-Racism Month, and ask every racial, religious, and ethnic group in Palm Beach County to join Lake Worth Beach residents in the celebration of the diversity of our community. In witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused this to hold the City of Lake Worth Beach to be affixed the 6th day of February 2024. And I see Ted in the audience, and I'd like him to come over and accept this. Everybody that's involved with this. Everybody.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the city's support and so many activities and all these young people that are here. Margot Everett, the Helen Elwin, the diversity committee, and, we just work to bring people together. We're visiting, Grant Chapel AME Church is coming Sunday morning at 11. I want to invite everybody to join us there. And Breeze Church, yay! And meet the new Reverend who you saw at the MLK march downtown and everything. Isn't it great to see these young people? We're here. We're here. You guys, I want to tell you something, young people. This is your city hall. Come here and let people know what you need. These people are here to serve you. Okay. And here's the proclamation. There you go. Well, you can play some chess, man. Yeah. That's all.
She's very cute. Yeah, 5x7 boxes. There you go. Look at the student.
I've got a head listening over here. You can't see the camera, you can't see it.
Good job.
All right. There you go. Okay. Everybody smiling?
Very nice.
Thank you very much. If it's a big deal.
I don't think it's that big.
Thank you guys for coming. You've been very patient.
Okay. One of our, millions going over the, thank you. All righty. Commission liaison reports and comments. Let's start with, District 4 today.
All right, just looking at my notes. Holiday, so, next week is, my TPA governing board meetings. There's really not a whole lot there just yet. But I am also starting next week on the same day, the League of Cities representative to the Palm Beach County Water Resources Task Force. And so adding that to my schedule, regular schedule. Kind of exciting. The first, then that meeting is gonna be covering PFAS, which is forget what the acronym is. I'm sure
What
Commissioner.
did you say?
PFAS, PFAS.
Okay, thank you.
And something that's hard to pronounce, I'm sure Vice Mayor McVoy knows it, but it is a water pollutant that's a big problem that is a colossally difficult thing to address, and it's admittedly something that I don't know a whole lot about because it's kind of like a new area, so I'm really excited to join in on that task force and you know, contribute the best I can on that. Also, because everything is the same week as Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative, my steering committee meeting is coming up, but before that, we have some stuff before, and I have some pretty good updates regarding our city, and that is, like today, earlier today, we had the working groups meeting, which for the first time, so historically, the Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative had 3 working groups: outreach, habitat, and water, and there's been a change that we did where now all 3 groups are meeting in one big meeting. And so there's a lot of information, a lot of things to learn about. And it's pretty interesting to hear kind of the work that other agencies are doing, like South Florida Water Management District and the county. And even like, you know, one of the presentations today kind of indirectly involves us, which is a researcher out of FIU is doing a really substantial pollution study in the C51 canal or Lake Worth Lagoon watershed, which of course our beloved Spillway Park is the gateway of all of that. So he's looking at all the heavy mammals and pollutants that come and go right up into our park. And so that should be really interesting. It's a really expensive study. And it was good to get an update and see that work kind of happen. Because it gives attention to a lot of the good work that we've already done. I mean, one of the big themes that came from a lot of the agencies and especially the county is they are super proud of Lake Worth's involvement in so much of these projects. And I always encourage people to look into it. Like, you know, Snook Island is a very visible place that's their prime example. That's their top project that they've done. They're super proud of that partnership. And still talking about the work and how that happened and how, you know, that partnership with Lake Worth Beach was critical. And there's so much more coming, like in the next probably few weeks, or maybe in the beginning of March, you're going to start seeing a bunch of large barges going underneath the bridge and using our old bridge park. And what they're going to be doing is they're starting the next set of islands, which is just outside of Lake Worth Beach, but we're going to see it's right across just south of the jetty where Jewel Steinhardt Cove is. And it's a project called Bonefish Cove, and there's going to be 3 new islands that are built that is going to provide bird habitat, but also it's going to provide something like 22 acres of seagrass habitat by fixing the elevation in that. And so it's really, this is like really innovative, top-notch projects that they are pulling off for, I'm going to say pennies, you can use the expression. They're doing it for, these are expensive projects, they're a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of compared to other similar projects around the world, they're doing it for a fraction of their cost. It's really impressive. And similarly, this Thursday morning, we're gonna be at Jewel Steinhardt Cove, across the street from Lake Worth, from our public beach. If you're not familiar with it, so you can park at our beach, use the crosswalk to safely cross to the other side and walk down. And there'll be county and we'll be there to do some maintenance work there. And starting about the same-ish time, this is a question I get a lot, and I'm really happy to share this news, is starting maybe Thursday afternoon, if not Friday, and for a few days, contractors will be out at our golf course to clear out and do a lot of work, pulling out invasives, plant management, all along the shoreline there, because that's always a big ask and on where we're at with that. And no promises on the iguanas. They're probably still going to be there, but a lot of the cold is probably not cold enough, long enough to have any meaningful effect at this point. But yeah, I'm really happy, you know, golf course, one of the big questions is, well, we gotta maintain those, what we call the windows, the openings in the mangroves. And that's really gonna be the big focus. And, so it's gonna be nice and cleaned up and beautiful.
Who's doing that?
It's a contractor through Palm Beach County.
Thank you.
Great, so the education task force met last week. We finished up our final landscape project at North Grade, and we're gonna, looking into being able to present to show, the commission some before and after photos, so you can see the work we've been doing. We've decided that we want to, brainstorm with some of the different principals and, try to figure out little ways that we can come together as a community to help with some of the absenteeism and tardiness that has been a common theme across all the schools. I think county and even country and statewide, but definitely here and like Rick Beach has become a real issue. If they're not in class, they can't learn. So that's going well. And then I've just been working on setting up more meetings with Jamie Brown and other important people. So we have something lined up with some folks from James Green's department, he's the director of community services of the county, to see how we can collaborate more on tackling some of the social issues we're having here in the city. And then we're also going to be meeting with the finance director and electric utility director to try to just finalize, we have the language from an old ordinance talking about our PCA and then the new rate stabilization, and everything's not matching up. So working on cleaning that up and making it crystal clear exactly how we're going to continue the progress we've made with that initiative. So that's kind of the work that's going on behind the scenes.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Just a little short, two items. One, I attend pretty much on a monthly basis, the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council meetings. And it's been interesting to see some of the initiatives at a much larger scale than Lake Worth. They go quite a ways north and extend down to Palm Beach County. A lot of concern that we share here of preemption by Tallahassee of the ability of communities to basically control their own futures. I raised an issue. We typically on the consent agenda have review that the Treasure Coast Planning Council does of planning issues that come up in different either counties or cities. And I raised, and some other people raised, that, geez, we seems like as the Treasure Coast, we basically approve whatever they bring us. And there was a nice spontaneous presentation by, I believe his name is Doug Smith, a longtime county commissioner in either Mountain or St. Lucie County. And he really, very sober sort of person, but gave a very sober account of how, and as did the director of the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council, Lenahan, of how over the last 2 or 3 decades, fewer and fewer powers are left to cities and counties to make planning decisions, that more and more of it is set by the state and doesn't have leaf control. That came up in specifics a little bit with plastics. We had a good study by some of the staff that looked at how can you reduce microplastics in the ocean. We are very much of a coastal state. So a lot of things that we do in our communities wind up in the ocean with microplastics, stuff breaking down. If any of you have been involved in Commissioner Diaz's cleanups or any other ones toward the lagoon, you will see that in between all the bits and pieces of twigs and leaves and whatnot, there is a remarkable amount of plastic, and it keeps getting smaller. We don't see the microplastics, but other people do, who study that kind of thing, and the health aspects are not great. Again, where we had a little bit of trouble with how much is the state going to let us regulate things, we actually did pass a quite strong recommendation from the Treasure Coast to push on the state to work harder on microplastics. So the other point that I was going to make is topic is this is Anti-Racism Month, Black History Month. We've done proclamations. I would like to encourage our commission to tackle something that we have talked about many times, and that is renaming Dixie Highway to something more reasonable. Let's put that on our list and actually, it's not a very big thing. It doesn't change the world in a great way, but it means a lot to a lot of people because of the historical aspects. And it is a step that is within our control to be able to do on our portion of it within our city. So I would encourage us to figure out what you need to do. I raised it a number of years ago with the previous city manager, and she said she checked with various people and it never went anywhere. So hopefully we can do better this round.
Thank you. Ms. Malega?
Thank you. I do believe we have a street naming policy that we have to follow, because many people have brought that forward. So as the NAPC liaison, the first Saturday of the month, I get to get up early in the morning and hang out with all the presidents. I'm really excited that they all had their elections. And we have some new people who have stepped up to serve as presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, and secretaries of the neighborhoods, which is great because it's new energy. It's always been the same 15 people, 20 people doing the majority of the work. So it's really good. And these are people who just moved to the city within the last couple of years. All different demographics. So I'm super excited. Royal Poinciana has new leadership. Tropical Ridge has new leadership, and so does Rolo. That's just in my district. The NAPC is having the great taste to get your tickets before they sell out, $25 a piece. You can get them at the Collective Boutique, Pause on the Avenue, Tacky Tourist, and through Eventbrite for a small additional fee. But they are going to sell out and they will not take any walk-ups this year. So that's the Friday of Street Painting Festival. It's the way that we kick off Street Painting Festival. The 15th is our public meeting at the library in regards to the resurfacing project for Lake and Lucerne. Please share that with all your neighbors that they need to come listen, pay attention. We are not the ones who are designing or driving the calendar, but at least be aware. So that's at the city library from 5 to 6. That's the public meeting. And then on the 17th is the no hate photo shoot opportunity at Compass, and that's from 12 to 2. And I do believe that's a $20 or maybe $40 fee for the single photo shoot to raise awareness and anti-hate. You know, Compass does amazing things. We always talk about the nonprofits that are in our neighborhood and our city. We're very blessed. And I hope everyone's been paying attention to the amazing mural that the CRA and the city has helped put together for the fire department. Stop in, say hi, love on the men and women over there and at PBSO too. And then I leave on Thursday night. I'll be up in Orlando for a day summit, leadership summit with the league all day Friday. And I'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you. And you just came back from Tallahassee.
I did. We're going to talk about that on Monday.
No.
Trying to stay in a good mood.
I was not able to go to Tallahassee. I had a trial. My work got involved, but one of the asks that we're doing from the legislature is money to do a study of our golf course and the hydraulics and how do we keep it dry. And so instead of meeting with Mr. Caruso, who's sponsoring it, I sent him a beautiful package of chocolate golf balls to remind him that it's important to us to have, don't forget our golf course. Yes, he's very helpful to us. Street Painting Festival is going great. Thank you, staff and everything that you've done, Jamie, to keep it going. It's all on track. We've regained our Tree City USA status, 2023. So that was a nice thing I got a letter the other day and from Tree City USA. And we are back on track and we accomplished that, which was very exciting. I guess we get a fine. They sent a letter. I don't know. Budgets. I don't know. I'm on, it's called the Leadership Committee of Lakewood High School. It's funded by the Children's Home Society of Florida. And there's 2 schools in Palm Beach County that were funded. And it's really a very interesting committee. We meet once a month and it's Pastor Jay from Lord of, from Our Savior, Maria from the Guatemala Center, just a group of neighborhood city people. And one of the things that they're actually doing is every Monday they have a food giveaway for the kids and actually for the staff. But they learned that they have to let the kids at it first and then the staff can get it. And the other thing that we're doing is having a clothes closet for kids. We've got a good deal on some clothes racks and there'll be a room dedicated in the school so that kids can bring in clothes and exchange clothes because goodness knows these kids are suffering right now. So it's really nice. It's nice to be able to help in that direct way. I want us to start looking. I've been in touch with some folks that live on the Intercoastal. And we have these little unincorporated, the edges of the streets that went down into the water. And for a while we were doing revocable permits and abandonment. And we have a terrible problem with some of those neighbors that what's going on in those It's from South Lakeside to the water. Encampments, drugs, sex, so I would like to bring back and have a discussion about the concept of either revocable permits or abandonment of those. I know we did it, and I think there was a hold on it, but I'd like to bring it back and talk about it. I think that's about all I have. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. City managers report. Oh, Mr. Diaz, do you have another comment?
I'll let Mr. Brown take it. We've been working on that issue, so we met the other day, on Monday, to talk about.
Well, yeah, I'm in touch with the people that are suffering, and
It's bad.
Good evening, everyone. Real quick on that, yeah, it's kind of two separate things. So we've kind of had a little backlog as far as abandonments and things, but a lot of those are internal in the city, and everything kind of on the lagoon is a little separate. So you're gonna start seeing those coming forward as far as the ones we can kind of get off our plate. They're dead ends on kind of the lettered streets, that there is no future city plans to put a road through there or anything like that. Those we can kind of get off our plate and get in the back up. So those will be coming forward soon. Audit, CRA audit is complete. That was done last Thursday. We are on track to, and that was for the 21-22 for the CRA. 21-22 for the city, still due April 1st. We're gonna beat that date. Our finance director is actually upstairs right now, working on the audit.
thank you, Yana.
And then obviously, the 22-23, which is due on June 30th, we'll be on track to get that in as well. So we'll finally be caught up after kind of getting behind last year with some of the changes going on. So audit is looking good. Next Tuesday, a week from today, in this room at 6 p.m., the CRA meeting, I did send each of you an invitation. There will be a presentation at that meeting by the Weiner Museum of Decorative Arts. There is a very good, exciting possibility for our downtown for a museum coming in, which will also have a housing component, which kind of fits perfectly for what we are all about. So if anyone is interested in that, the next Tuesday's meeting would be a very good presentation to sit in on, to kind of get some information on how that may or may not move forward. Also, later on this week, on the 8th, there was an internal meeting with city staff, county, West Palm Beach, Lantana, that multimodal corridor study on the way from Indiantown Road in Jupiter, 42 miles, all the way down to Camino right in Boca. There's a meeting to discuss our that we kind of brought forward last year and the year before, our possible lane repurpose on Dixie Highway for US 1. So I'll be coming back to you guys, letting you kind of know how that goes as well. So that's moving forward. We did get comments back from DOT earlier on this week on that study. So we'll be addressing those and getting that back to DOT. Also next week on Thursday, the 15th, there is a DOT meeting regarding the Lake and Lucerne, which is of interest to many people. That's from basically the traffic circle all the way to Gulfview on Lake and Lucerne. The virtual meeting is going to be from 5 to 6, and then the actual meeting is at the library from 6 to 7. It might be 6 to 8.
No, 5 to 6.
Well, 5 to 6 is the virtual meeting. And then there's an in-person meeting that starts at 6 o'clock in the library.
You know, I think. That's not what it's doing.
So we've got the virtual from 5 to 6, and the in-person is from 6 to 7.
At the library.
At the library. At the library, yes. I will be doing it virtual because we have the business advisory board meeting here at 6 that same evening, so I will not be able to make the in-person. Also, the tree board met last week on the 30th, January 30th, to kind of start that. We had talked about the tree planting for Bryant Park and the 25,000. We matched with another 25, and we're having the tree and landscape board kind of develop the scope for an RFQ that would go out so we can get someone on board for a multi-year contract to kind of not tackle just that particular pot of money, but as we budget each fiscal year for that kind of thing, we would have the same consistent person doing that. So they met last week. I did speak with Dave McGrew, who's our liaison for the city, for the tree and landscape board. They got a lot done. He said they might need one more workshop. But the goal being to then get that to us so we can review it and then get that out. But push that out on the street so we can get moving forward with that. The new leisure services director. She is here this week, mornings, part-time, and she is starting full-time next Monday. So we are very excited to get her on board. She's very excited. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the bonfire at the beach last Friday. But she had actually planned on coming and surprising all the staff and helping out with that on Friday night. So we had to call her and say, no, it got canceled. So, everyone's very excited for that to happen. So that is based on our report. A lot of stuff going on and a lot of running around, street painting.
Yeah.
We are only a few short weeks out, so it's a lot of behind the scenes chaos at the moment.
I'm gonna add two things. You mentioned the CRA. I went down, I think a few of us have gone down separately, of course, to the museum, the Wiener Museum down in Fort Lauderdale. Mr. Wiener is a man from New York, and when he was young, he's an elderly man now. He was about to say that. When he was a young man, he started collecting ceramics and porcelain. He has a world-class collection of amazing porcelain, all the way from old England, and now he's working with young people in South Africa, and they're doing the most amazing fine porcelain, but with an African theme. He would like to bring his museum and put it in the L&M project with a residential component to support it. So on the 13th at the CRA meeting will be here. I encourage everyone either to watch on video or come here and see it. It's remarkable. This is a collection that could go into the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York.
And what's really cool is he's got artists from the items
Yep.
in there as well.
Yep.
He's already encompassed local artists into his.
Right, he's toured the city, he's walked the areas and he's feeling. And the other thing, and I forgot to do this, I got a big envelope today from Sacred Heart School. I had no idea what it was. This is, and it was, we don't get a lot of, hey, thank you, you're doing a great job in this job. This is a collection of letters to the mayor from the students at Sacred Heart School, and I'll give you just a little, it was really nice to get it. Dear Mayor Betty Resch, thank you for being such a good mayor. I hope you get to visit our school sometime. I hope we get to visit you. I hope you'll like this card. I hope you have a great time. What's it like being mayor? And that's from a third grade student. And I started going through each one. It was like, thank you for being the mayor. Thank you for taking care of Lake Worth. And I don't know what teacher is responsible. They're gonna find out, because I will come to your school. Of course I'll come and meet you. It was just really a sweet, heartwarming thing, and I just wanted to share it, that there's good in this world, and it's just amazing. All first, second, and third grade will thank you letters from our own little children. I had to brag on that. Thank you.
Could I add one thing that I'd forgotten? It's an announcement for an activity also at the high school, real quick. There is, and there's a teacher, a very high energy teacher at our Lake Worth High School, who is the director for Latinos in Action. And she has gotten a bunch of, well, I think she just stands out of the way and helps them go, but there are a bunch of students that she's involved with who are doing a fashion show, and they are making the clothing things for it. It is Saturday, February 17th, 4 to 6 p.m. is the fashion show at the school, and 6 to 8 p.m. you get a dinner and dance, and all of this for the high price of $10 if you buy it in advance. And I would say get in touch with the school. I can give you a long name, Maria de la Cruz Gutierrez at PunditSchools.org. But it looks like it's going to be very interesting. She sent a bunch of pictures of the kids working away, men and women working on designing things.
Why didn't you share that email with all of us?
I have a flyer I was gonna send to.
Yeah, I have the
post
flyer.
on the
Send it to
social
Owen
media.
or send it to Jamie, and you can send it out. Yeah, good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving right along. City Attorney's report.
Very short, in terms of the city manager search, staff and office have finished working on the RFP. It'll be on the next agenda, so you can look it over before it gets sent out.
Okay, thank you. Public participation in non-agenda items and consent agenda. Do I have to get any blue cards? Madam Clerk, I know you have some public comments. Todd Velez, come on up.
New microphone. Todd Velez, 530 North G. Thanks Scotland for McDonald's, Tabby Cats, Scottish Tea, steeped 70 years, and the Presbyterian Church. Glamour, an old Scottish word. Magic, cast by spells. Does the Presbyterian Church have it? You bet. So Lake Worth does, for sure. Pat Lynn, Patricia Lynn, added to that glam by being the first woman to campaign and win the commission seat, and giving confidence to another woman to run in a different district and win as well. But Lake Worth has been, well, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, burning women at the stake for quite a few years, and Pat Lynn became the first woman to say, take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. After 6 months, the other woman bailed after 8 to 10 months, insinuating Pat was a pro or a hooker. It was a tough time for the girls in that era. Fanny James could possibly pre-Lake Worth with throwing the mail in the lagoon, but that might be a federal issue. Street painting. So what I'm saying is girls and I remember Pat really liked Rachel Waterman, but as you find out, they get tired quickly and soon they forget. I mean it as a positive. The street painting, 24th and 25th February, may be a rendering of in the parking lot of Old Bob, the one-eyed gator, and of course, the long forgotten snake pit for women, but to snap them back. My point is that when the women were, as I gave a definition of envy, stay in your lane. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing would be the phrase. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, soon will be the Midnight Sun Finish Fest. Hope to see you there.
Thank you, Todd. Anyone else? Thank you. Janice around.
Janice Serrano, 413 North L Street. Just an information question. I think would be interesting if we could learn how each of you spend your discretionary spending. Is there a report someplace, say for 2023, how you spent it last year?
Yeah, we do. We have we all have what we spent and how much we spent on what.
Is it online? On the
I think it's online, but I have a copy of it. I could give it to you.
Okay, it'd just be interesting because it tells us a little bit about your interest in your priorities.
Yep.
I'm just curious. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see anyone.
I wasn't aware of the new
Okay,
contract.
Connor.
Okay, thank you.
You just have to say your name and your address.
Okay, thank you. Tracy Williams. I'm actually from a neighboring city. However, my family has 2 properties on 814 Truman Avenue and 821 Truman Avenue.
I'm sorry, name and address for the record.
Oh, I apologize. Hold on. Tracy, Tracy Williams. The address in the door.
Where you live?
Okay, 421 Northwest 6th Avenue. That's Boynton Beach.
Okay.
And I'm sorry for my oversight. Good evening to the Honorable Mayor and distinguished friends. Okay, I wrote that down and still forgot it. So, here's my story. My mother owns those 2 properties, which is 814 and 821 Truman Avenue. And I keep looking at the 2 people that have some background. What I've learned in this journey, she's battling a serious illness. And she's afforded me the privilege and the responsibility of these 2 properties. I started this in April. I had no idea of what was ahead. However, I knew that I had that responsibility and that privilege to turn around what I could and what I couldn't do independently, find out who could support me in my efforts. You can ask some neighbors, you can ask the sheriff deputies who patrol that area. You can even ask the public utility serviceman who came out and said to me, "Is this your place now?" Man, it was so run down. And I'm telling you, I've done my work and I've done it with the resources that I've had independently. And it has turned around. And it's a source of pride for me I know my, grandparents who are gone now, they would be very pleased. I know my mother, even though she can't come out, she hasn't been able to look at the property. But I had the very troubling responsibility of videoing what I walked into because I was about to spend her money. And I just remember her saying several times, oh my God, I had no idea. This illness has been with her for a few years. And she entrusted someone to manage the property. Anyway, I'm here now. There's a new sheriff in town. I have cleaned it up. It's visible, but I have a problem with a resident who is using that street, both sides of the street, for his auto mechanic business. And it's interesting, what I started doing was reaching out, who do I go to? Well, first of all, it's sometimes my property, and this is me thinking. So after I spoke with him and I gave him threatening letters saying, you know, you're affecting my property. This is not fair to the neighbors. It's not fair to the community. So I didn't just dump it. I mean, I was reaching out to him
You're
with
gonna
a
be
friendly
up real
perspective.
soon, so,
Okay,
yeah.
City Hall, no. The towing company referred me to the city. The city referred me to the county. It was just back and forth. Help. Okay,
I have been to your place and I
Yes.
see how you turn those units over. It's amazing. And you do
Thank
it yourself, which is very impressive.
thank you.
So this is the ongoing problem on your street there with this guy that keeps doing it.
For years,
Okay, okay,
without my knowledge, but now that I'm here, I know.
right. Okay, Ms. Malega, we don't really usually comment when
We
people
don't,
come up,
but the county is aware of the situation. Commissioner Greg Weiss is helping me, and we are already in the process of how we can get that out of the county hands. Jamie and I spoke about earlier today with Mr. Perry, and hopefully turn that into a new affordable house,
that lot.
that lot. So we have some stuff in the works.
Okay.
It's gonna take, and thank you for being a voice.
And thank you for your email. I just felt if I showed up, you could put a face, and certainly I look better now than when you saw me.
Both of us were a little hot and sweaty that afternoon.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Tracy. Good to see
Okay,
you. Thank you
good
very
night.
much.
Thank you for coming.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay. Madam Clerk, you have a few?
Yes, I have two comments.
Okay, let's hear them.
Before I read them, I just want to say that when individuals are submitting public comment on the website,
Yeah,
they have to use a valid email because it could get flagged by the system and we may not receive the comment.
oh,
Just
okay.
putting that out there. First comment, Sam Smith, 109 North Palmway. I am alarmed to learn that the City Planning and Zoning Board is considering a major change to single-family zoning, which would permit townhouse complexes in any neighborhood in the city, including those that are zoned single-family. Section 23.3-25, Plan Development District to allow townhouses within the single-family residential zoning district as part of a residential-only mixed-use urban plan development would destroy the character and feel of our single-family neighborhoods to the benefit of only out-of-town developers. I'm not sure where this proposal has originated from, but it is beyond awful to dramatically change our neighborhoods where people bought homes to raise their families, relying on the single-family zoning, which this proposed ordinance would destroy. It seems like the city really doesn't care about current residents and only cares for developer dollars. I urge this commission to look into this proposal and soundly reject it. And the second and last comment is from Eric Hanenian, excuse my pronunciation, 1428 South Lakeside Drive. The blue-yellow tote-size bin recycling program is an environmental disaster. On a weekly basis, garbage is blown around our streets into runoff drains and out to the intercoastal. This is due to the bins being too small, no lids, and residents overloading them. Clearly, most households produce more than these bins can accommodate. Solution number one, upgrade to provide all addresses full-size 55-gallon bins. Instruct residents to place curbside only when full. Solution number two, delete the entire recycling program, send everything to landfill. This is a much more environmentally friendly option as the current system is polluting our streets, waterways, and making Lake Worth Beach look like a ghetto. Please address this issue. Thank you. And that is those are the two comments.
Thank you. With next is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearings. A ordinance number 24-01, second reading, amending the city's pension plan ordinance. Mr. Attorney.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2024-01 of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 16 pensions and retirement, article 2 employees retirement system, division 2 pension plan, amending section 16-43C3 deferred retirement option plan to provide that the drop earnings shall be annualized rate equal to the September 30 1-year rate of expected investment return minus 1%. Right, severability, repeal of loss of conflict, codification, and effective date.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll give that second to Ms. Stokes. Ordinance number 24-04, second reading, adopting the Florida Building Code 2023 8th edition with recommended local amendment to chapter 1.
Ordinance number 2024-04, the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 9, buildings and structural regulations, amending article 1 in general, section 9-2, building code adopted by adopting the 2023 building code, amending section 9-2.1, city of Lake Worth Beach administrative amendments to the Florida building codes adopted by adopting by reference the city of Lake Worth Beach administrative amendments to the Florida building code 2023 edition, severability, the repeal of laws of conflict, codification, and effective date.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, unfinished business. This is the amendment to the lease agreement with Roofing Services for Head Start through August 30th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
Yes, I have 3, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we've got one in house, and we're gonna let the lady go first who's here. Please go to the podium and name and,
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Noemi McGregor. I live in 228 South Ocean Breeze. And I am here in favor of the approval and the language, to add the language for Head Start Return Services to extend the lease and renegotiate the renewal to keep Head Start in Lake Worth. While I do not live in the district, as a community activist, I have been canvassing the district for the past few weeks, letting them know about the March 19 election. And I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of the people in the community. And one of the conversations that keeps coming on and on is about Head Start and how they need it, how they were actually really upset upset and frustrated. That's actually the words that they use. That they found out from a petition running in the streets, somebody knocking their doors, letting them know that the Head Start was about to be kicked out or pushed out of the city. So I'm here in favor of extending the lease, like I said, and negotiating, and I urge this commission to, and the city manager, to please make sure that these issues come to the community within the time, and so we have time to come up with solutions that we can, help and keep these programs in the city, because it is obvious to me that just by talking to people that are needed. And also, I think it will sound more like a transparency from the body. That's what I think they feel that I'm getting, that it was kind of trying to be done behind the scenes. So is that it is, again, this is what I'm hearing while I'm talking to people. And again, I just urge the commission to keep it and extend the lease, and thank you for your time.
thank you. Madam Clerk? Madam Clerk?
Yes, I'm sorry. The first comment is from Michael McLeod, 429 North J Street. The political fiasco that was the city of Lake Worth Beach's attempt to evict the Head Start chapter operated by Lutheran Services of Florida from the Osborne Center never should have happened, and is an example of the detrimental impact zealous politicking can have on a community. At no point should misguided dogma combined with weak managerial leadership create preference for one organization over another based on myopic considerations. Services Lake Worth Beach only, and put in motion disruptive and disenfranchising actions while overlooking the global impact of the entity being diminished. It is pleasing to see that the city did reverse course, agreeing to renew Head Start's lease, along with assisting both organizations that were inadvertently pitted against each other. One would hope that this incident acts as a teaching moment for the city and that the new lease being negotiated provides protections against or the city puts in place procedures to hinder political meddling that can unexpectedly disrupt the operation of valued service entities servicing Lake Worth Beach. Kara Jennings, 822 North C Street. Good evening. It is encouraging to see this coming up for a public vote. The city owns multiple buildings that are leased, some to for-profit businesses like those at the beach and others to nonprofits like Lutheran Services. All lease agreements of public property should be discussed in the public before staff moves to terminate them. Unfortunately, the parents of the Lake Worth Head Start program were put under incredible stress when Commissioner Maliga behind closed doors initiated an effort to end their lease. A lease Head Start held for multiple years was suddenly being terminated with only 1 month's notice. The reason for the termination, sadly, the public and the commission are still in the dark about that. Months ago, I made public comment and asked Sarah Maliga to explain why she pushed behind the scenes to end the Head Start lease. During my public comment, she interrupted me multiple times, telling me I was wrong for asking her to be transparent on this issue. She also said that she would that very night release a public comment explaining the situation. Well, that statement was never released, and so I now make the same request. I ask again, Commissioner Maliga, to explain to the public why you pressured the former city manager and staff to end the lease with Head Start. I ask you to operate in the sunshine and tell the public why you were moving this forward without bringing to the full commission. You, the elected official who literally told residents to riot when the Benny's lease was being negotiated in the public, has been silent about the reasons you tried to terminate the lease of a nonprofit. We know from public records requests that you were the singular person pushing the lease termination. The parents of Head Start, the staff of Lutheran Services, the residents of Lake Worth, and your colleagues all deserve to know why. Peter Tsalkis, 822 North C Street. Yes, please pass the Head Start lease agreement and support the critical work they are doing in our city. Renewing this lease is simple, and I hope you all support it. What is harder is the important discussion that needs to happen about the behavior and actions of one commissioner who tried to terminate the Head Start lease. We know from emails that Commissioner Maliga initiated the effort to end the lease with Lutheran Services. We know that she broke commission protocol and communicated directly to Leisure Services staff to push for the lease to be ended. We also know that the specific staff member she pressured to take action without commission agreement has since resigned. Can you imagine the uncomfortable position she put the staff member in, emailing them while they were homesick to do something she knew had not been brought before the commission? Commissioner Maliga sits up here and accuses other commissioners of being unfair to staff, but these emails show us the truth that she is pressuring staff behind closed doors to do things not approved by the commission. We have to wonder what other staff she is pressuring to do her bidding. We know that Ms. Maliga also had multiple email correspondences with the former city manager, pressuring her to cancel the lease. What we don't know is why Commissioner Maliga would go behind closed doors to end this lease. After almost 6 months of upsetment and confusion, I would like to know why Commissioner Maliga refuses to tell the public the reason she was pushing to kick Head Start out of the Osborne community and who will hold her accountable. That's the rest of the comments I have for this evening.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion, we have a second discussion.
I just want to state the reason that this has been brought forward is because I asked city manager to bring this forward because I never saw what was worked out. I said, I don't think any colleagues did. So I've asked Jamie to bring this forward so everybody would see what was worked out because none of us knew. And again, I'm going to ask legal to please bring policies forward that other cities use to negotiate the land that is owned by the city. Our staff should not be in charge of this. Everybody can crucify me, say whatever they want. The bottom line is the lease was terminated. Nobody asked for an extension. I asked for a letter to be expedited when I found out that they were supposed to be out in 3 months, but I'd never known about it. So yeah, I did send an email. Notify them if they're not going to be there, that they need to know they're not going to be there. But I did not kick anybody out. So again, I'm asking legal one more time. I've asked this now 5 times from the dais between the Benny's lease and this blow up. And if we want to talk about electeds going out of the way, who showed up at the union negotiations and interviews? On Saturday when we were doing union interviews for endorsements, but we'll put that over there. We'll put that over there. So again, I have nothing to hide. Their lease was up. When staff told me their lease was up and that they had to move out, I said, did anybody ask them or tell them that they need to move out? And I was told, no, we were waiting on legal to respond. I said, well, don't you think we should make a phone call, send an email, and maybe expedite it with a certified letter if they need to get out? That's how I got involved, because I am the district commissioner. But again, please bring policy forward so we do not have to rely, and I say we as residents and business owners have to rely on staff that does not have the expertise on the value of the assets and what we should be negotiating. So thank you, Jamie, for bringing this forward and putting it in the sun and bringing it out into the light, because none of us had seen this agreement before, or none of us knew what was worked out. At least I didn't. So now it's out in public.
Thank you, Ms. Redboy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the email record does, which you can get by public records, does indicate that one of our commissioners, Commissioner Malega, did push quite hard. And it wasn't simply notifying them, hey, your lease is terminated. It was pushing the city manager to push out a letter.
Okay, folks,
Twisting.
Ms.
Look at the
Malega and Mr.
emails, it's
McCoy.
pretty clear.
Can I, I'm just,
May I finish my
let me
comment?
interrupt you for a second and just make this comment. Please don't interrupt each other. And, I think this is a horse that has been beaten, and I think it's time to move on.
May I finish my comment now?
You may finish your comment. I would ask you that you bear that in mind, that we are trying to move forward.
We are, and I think a piece of that moving forward is that I think we should have a sort of a policy up here. I would have thought that it was in place, understood, that if any commissioner sees a problem of something going on in the city that they don't think is appropriate, and they think they have a solution, rather than going directly to staff to pressure them to do something, bring it.
Oh, really? Don't interrupt them. Just let them make voice.
Yeah.
Let's not go back and forth.
They jump for hoops. I don't
Let's
think.
not go back
I
and forth.
helped them get $23 million of grant.
Oh, let's not go back and forth. Move on.
So that's not hoops. I think what I would suggest is that if I see a problem, bring it to the attention either of the commission as a whole, or bring it to the attention of the city manager and ask them to bring it to the to the commission as a whole and say, hey, these folks it's a nonprofit, they've been providing a recognized federal program, the parents seem to be happy with it, nobody's raised any concerns, but I see a problem and maybe we shouldn't renew their lease. That's not a good thing to go to staff and push for that. That would be a good thing to bring to the attention of the city manager and ask the city manager, bring it to all of our attention, say, hey, do you agree that there's a problem here and here's a potentially useful solution? That was not done. It was not done at all. And it did cause a good deal. A comment was made that we should listen to the residents of the community. We had a whole room full of people who were very upset that they were losing their program.
Mr.
So,
McBoy, please. It's water under the bridge. We're moving forward.
It's on tape.
Okay, I will remember the water under the bridge. Thank you. That's my thought.
Thank you. Ms. Stokes?
I just wanted to give my input since Commissioner Malega said she's mentioned this several times of having a policy in place to have a city attorney hire outside people, but we are the policy makers here. So I think I don't want to rely on an attorney or an outside person to look at our leases and determine whether or not they should be allowed to terminate without our input. So whatever happened, I'm not here to debate that. There was a lease for a person using our public property that was being allowed to be terminated or run out without ever being brought to us as the policymaker, as a board, and that's unacceptable, and there's nothing that will make that acceptable. And hiring somebody else to if there's a lease that has a lot of complexities to it, sure, let's get outside help to help us go through that, but it's not the job of outsiders or staff or the city attorney's office to decide whether or not this commission wants to renew a lease or work out an arrangement with the leasing. So that needs to come back to us.
Thank you. I just have one comment. It also would have been helpful had the Head Start program, knowing their lease was expiring, had given us some notice that they wanted to keep the lease going. That would have been helpful. Mr. Brown?
Yes, so just to make sure everyone's clear, all this is, we had the letter from the previous manager that went out on October 17th. And speaking with, our city attorney, we needed to actually have an official amendment to the lease. So that's all this is basically putting what was in that letter into an actual lease extension until August, like stated in the letter. There's a particular date in here which they would need to notify us if they do wish to extend the lease, and we're already looking at starting those conversations much earlier in case, something does happen and we don't extend for one reason or another. It gives them plenty of time. So that's all this is basically
Right.
formalizing what was in that.
We have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next up, professional services agreement for special magistrate services. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone. Do we have any, yeah, I see that, thank you. Do we have anything from the city attorney? Just, okay, Ms. Malinga.
My only concern is that, there have been many conversations where, and I even brought this up to Glenn a long time ago. Glenn had said that the time to talk about review when the contracts are up. There is a special magistrate that some of our employees in code are very frustrated with because they keep getting extensions on top of extensions on top of extensions. And there are certain offenders that are not coming into compliance. And staff feels like they're beating their head against the wall when they give a recommendation to this magistrate that they basically aren't taking anything into consideration. And then code's getting slammed by residents and business owners that they're not doing their job. So, I mean, the code's a hard job anyway. So I don't know if we can take a look at that or which magistrate it was. I don't know names. But I just know there's a level of frustration with our staff that they feel that they're getting beat up on both ends.
I could just mention,
Go ahead.
the magistrate is neutral.
Right.
So we should not be in a position of saying magistrate, you're too strong or too weak. I'm sure there are people on both sides. I hear your comments. But one of the issues is the magistrate that we have had, one of them has resigned, and so we need more magistrates and to also spread the workload out. So having a variety of magistrates is thought to perhaps help even out that process.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have any cards on this or any comments on this?
I have no more public comments for this evening.
Okay, I have a comment from Peggy Fisher.
Peggy Fisher, A Street, Lake Worth Beach. Concerning special magistrate, I think it's highly inappropriate for a sitting commissioner to come before the special magistrate and advocate, say what they want to have done for a business that's been out of compliance for 3 years. No business license for 3 years. If I didn't have a business license and I was running a business, I wouldn't ask anybody. I wouldn't have the nerve to ask anybody to come and stand up here. But I think it's inappropriate for if they want to come as an individual, that's fine. But to come and stand in the special magistrate meeting and say their position and who they are is undue influence. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the special magistrate is an independent finder of fact. So I don't know what to do. So we have a motion, we have a second. Do all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next up, purchase order with Allen J Fleet Services for the procurement of fleet replacement vehicles.
Motion to approve.
So a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Agreement with Homestead Concrete and Drainage, which is item C. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Nominations to the Technical Advisory Committee, the TAC of the Transportation Planning Agency.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I motion to approve.
Not in
There's
my,
nothing in the backup.
there's
for it.
nothing in the backup for this.
No.
What? Well, that's
We're just to approve.
problematic.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Diaz, right?
So there was a staff report for this item, which I emailed out on Friday,
Okay,
and that's the only backup.
okay, I saw something about it. We didn't print it out.
It's online.
That's for, Jamie and. Lori.
I think it's basically a technicality, perhaps, the city manager can enlighten us.
She's not on.
Yeah, Mr. Brown.
Yes, so the technical action committee for the Transmission Planning Agency, advisory committee, they're 3-year terms. I have been serving as the main representative since I think 2014. Troy Perry would be the alternate, which is what this item is asking for. At some point in time, they used to actually notify you a few months out when that was happening. That got missed this time. So we were kind of notified at the last minute. So we needed to kind of put this on the agenda last minute, last Friday, so I can then notify them tonight. I've already got the letter already typed up if this passes. So they can have it on their backup for the governing board meeting, which one of our commissioners sits on, for their meeting next Thursday. So that needed to get done tonight so they can have it on their agenda by Thursday for next Thursday's meeting.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. I need a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.